This is the Sprint 1 demo video for the workcycle on H2, which is the self-deposit application for the Stanford Digital Repository. This represents work completed and put into production during our 1-week Sprint 0 and the first 2-week sprint of the workcycle. One of the major goals of this workcycle was to add a number of features specifically for members of the SDR team that provide administrative support for those depositors using the system, and I believe that everything on that list of work has been completed. So let me show you what we have. First, on the dashboard for this application, we've added an admin button that's visible only to users who have administrative privileges. And we put a number of features on a new page that you can access via this button. So first off, we have an all collections table. This table existed previously on the main dashboard page, but was only visible to administrators. So that's been moved here. We also have several new tables. We have tables of recent activity for collections that show all the collections that have had activity in the time frame selected from this drop-down menu. We also have a similar table for recent activity for items. And the last table that we have here that's new is for locked items. There aren't any showing here right now, but I will get back to locked items in a little bit. We also have some functions available from this drop-down menu. One of these is a Druid search. This Druid search already existed for admins on the main dashboard as well, but we have moved it over here to the admin page. So the way this works is that if you search for a Druid, it will take you directly to that item in H2. We have some new features here as well. One of those is a user search. This brings up a box to enter a SUNET ID, and so if I type a SUNET ID in here and hit search, then it shows me who that user is, and it will then display 3 tables. One that shows all the collections that this user can access and what role they have in this collection. A second table shows all the collections that were created by this user, and a third table shows all of the items that were created by or are currently owned by this user. One of our other new functions is the ability to generate a report about collections in H2. You can either download information about all the collections, or you can limit the report by date created, date modified, or by the state of the collection. So you make your choices, and then you click the submit button, and then when the report is done running, you click download, and you can download the CSV file of that report. We have a similar report available for items. This also has a date last deposited range that you can choose from, and has the ability to download a report for a particular collection. And as you can see here, items in H2 have a lot more possible states, so there are more options here. Works the same way, click submit, and then download the file. So those are awesome. We also have a number of new administrative features that are visible strictly from item pages. So let's look at those. So those now appear up here at the top of the page, again, only for people who have administrative privileges in the application. So one of these options is change owner. So now we can type in the SUNET ID of a different person, and we can change the ownership of this particular item. So where I was the original depositor of this item, now it's owned by Hannah Frost. So Hannah will now, when she logs into the application, see this item on her dashboard and be able to edit it. Another function that we have is locking and unlocking. Locking an item will prevent anyone in the application from being able to make changes to the item. One of the cases where we will use this is for large data deposits. Large data deposits are started in this application and then they're finished via Argo. And once completed, users are not supposed to attempt to modify those items here. But now we will be able to lock those items to make sure that they can't change them. So we can lock this item, and once this item is locked, the pencil icons for editing are replaced by these little locks, and if the user clicks on this lock, they get a message that says, this item can no longer be edited in this application, and if you need to make changes to this deposit, to please contact us. Items that are locked then show up on that table that I showed you previously that was of locked items that was empty at the time, but will now have this item in it if I went back there and checked again. Another thing that we can now do is decommission an item. Sometimes items get created that shouldn't have been, or items need to be removed from the SDR. Decommissioning from the SDR is done via Argo, but when the item was deposited originally via H2, we also want to be able to clean up the information about this item in the H2 database. This feature allows us to do that and maintains a little bit of information in H2 so that we know which items we've done this to, but also then removes it so that the original depositor no longer sees the items on their dashboard. One additional feature that is going to be really useful for people providing service for this application is that comments made when users version items and collections will now be sent to SDR and will be visible in Argo. Users are always required to provide a description, so in this case, for this item, when version 6 was made, this person added orchids. That information is now being sent to Argo so that you can see it there. During this work cycle, we also completed a number of user-facing improvements, and I would like to show you some of those as well. One of the improvements that we made was to the file addition. So it is not allowed in our system for two files on one item to have the same name. So if a user uploaded two files with the same name, they would see this error message telling them that that's not allowed and they should delete the file and try again. So this was always here. However, the form actually still allowed users to save this as a draft and to deposit it in this state. And so we've now implemented a check that will prevent that from happening and forces the user to come back up here and remove the duplicate item. Another thing that we've added, a small thing, but I think will be very important in order to help better support students who are depositing e-portfolios and capstone projects, is that we've added a role term of advisor. We've had a number of requests for this, and I'm very pleased that we were able to get that added into this work cycle. We've also added a number of new validations around the date fields. So for all of these date fields now, we are looking to check for several things. One of them, several more things than we already were checking. One of them is for dates that don't exist, like February 31st, which is never a valid date. So we're now looking to make sure that people aren't entering those types of dates. We're also double checking that for all of these fields, publication dates and creation dates, that the dates are in the past. The other thing that we're doing is preventing users from using this approximate checkbox here in all of these cases when they've entered a specific date. If you're not sure about the dates and you want to say it was approximate, then it doesn't make sense that you are entering a specific date. So if you want to use the approximate checkbox, then you need to remove the specific date and then you're able to check the box. The last improvement here that I want to talk about is around the keywords. We've now instituted a check that looks for duplicate keywords and prevents the user from saving or depositing the form if there are duplicates present. The problem we were having was that duplicate keywords are not allowed by DataCite, which is our DOI minting organization. So DOI minting was failing if users were entering the same keyword twice. And the last thing I want to show you really quickly is another feature that we've added to help support students who are depositing e-portfolios and capstone projects. And that is that we have added subtype terms for capstone and for portfolio. That's it for the demo video for this week. Stay tuned for another demo video at the end of Sprint 2 in 2 weeks. Thanks.